So this is the Soul Cave marketplace level that I've added enhancements to, such as this blueprint-based door. When you step into the trigger box, it starts opening, and you can leave and re-enter the trigger box, and the blueprint will handle all of this without causing any unexpected interactions, and then the door will close automatically once the animations have finished, or once you leave the trigger box. So you can see all of it's moving, and then it'll stay open until you leave the trigger box, which is this green box right here, and then it will slide back shut, and you can repeat this as much as you want, and you can come in and out of the trigger box as much as you want, and it will all be handled automatically. So none of the animations will interfere with each other, no matter what you do. And then the next feature, we have a couple of spline-based objects right here, a staff and two swords that will be triggered once you cross through this threshold, and then they will just swing on past and out of the way. The next step for enhancements is adding in some light effects that trigger as you're approaching and coming through this gate. For how it looks in code, we have the 3 spline paths for the swords and the staffs, and these are the paths that they follow. And then we have the door. For the spline paths, they are all based on a trigger box blueprint right here. This has each of the objects selected via blueprint, so you can select each of the objects, the swords and the staff, which is over there, and each of them can select one of the blueprint splines for the paths. Those are over here as track 1. Track 1 is very basic. It's just a spline and that's it. And then the staff moving and the sword staff are the same thing. They have some exposed variables, like whether or not it's active, the track that it's running on, which is an object reference to the track, an exposed variable for how long you want, and then you can also start it on a specific part of the track based off the time. And this is all handled in here via blueprints. So we get the locations along the spline, and then we set the actor's location and a rotation. And then the moving sword is exactly the same thing, but with a different model. As for the door itself, it's over here in this one big combination blueprint with the 5 doors in the trigger box. And this one's a bit more complicated. When you enter the trigger box, you have the collision overlap, and it checks if the door is open. If the door is closed, as in door open is false, we trigger open door. Else, if the door is open, we trigger a delay just to make sure. This is to handle if the user steps back in and out of the box. And then over here, we check if the door is busy. This is whether or not the animation is happening. It has to be false, otherwise nothing will happen. And then we immediately set the door to busy to show that it's happening, the debug string. And then we start a sequence of timelines that are strung together. Alternately, I could have set it up with multiple different tracks, all running a series of set relative locations based off of the meshes. But I figured I would demonstrate stringing them together. So we have this, we interpolate through the various positions for the 5 different doors, and then we set the door to open once the animation is finished, and we say the door is no longer busy. Closing the door, same type of thing. We need to make sure the door is open, which is true. If the door is not open, if the door is closed, we delay and then trigger it again. This again is handling the user coming into and out of the trigger box multiple times while it's triggering. And then we check to make sure the door isn't currently animating. And if that's false, we set the door to busy and we trigger the closed door animation, which slides everything back together over the course of 1 second. So here you can see one track being into multiple interpretations, and all of them sequencing here as they all happen at the same time from the same track. And then once that finishes, we say the door is no longer open by saying door open to false, and we say the door is no longer busy because the animation has finished. That's the current status of the work in progress enhancements to the Soul Cave marketplace level. My expertise is in normal scripting and programming via C++ or any other type of language along those lines. So this is mainly a project to demonstrate the use and operation of Unreal Engine 4's blueprint systems. That's all. Thanks for watching. There will be further videos as progress continues on this project.